One moment. Let me give people time to come back on. We crashed, and I'm just picking up again so we can finish tonight. Give me one moment. Almost finished. One moment. One second. One more moment. Be right back. Okay. It looked like we had crashed. Can anyone tell me at what point I was at before it went blank? Can anyone tell me where we were before it went blank? Protecting the bishop, yes. I think I had gotten down to inside the Constitution, the new Constitution that they put together. I think I'd gotten down to section 8G. Did you all hear me talking about the senior minister or no? Did you all hear me talk about the senior minister or no? No. Did you hear me beginning to talk about the senior minister at all or no? Okay. So let me pick up there. This is the last section, and this won't take long. Section 8G, it says the senior minister. This is the first time the senior minister is being mentioned in anything that has reference to the trial of a bishop. Okay. So what we're seeing is layer upon layer upon layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of protections to protect the bishop. The General Assembly Secretary is there for protection of the bishop. Remember, he is first a general councilman. Before he's anything else, he's a general councilman. After the general councilman, then he's General Assembly Secretary. General councilmen are awarded one of the most prestigious awards to a general council member is for him to be appointed as a judge. This book says the biggest position on council is a judge. So by appointment, you can only become a judge. You can't become a judge by any other means on the council. Again, you must work for him. To be a General Assembly Secretary, remember, inside the General Assembly, when it's time to elect the General Assembly Secretary, they stop everything and they say, General Council only. No one other than the General Council can throw in the vote to elect a General Assembly Secretary. The reason why the General Council elects the General Assembly Secretary is because what we know now is the General Assembly Secretary, who's over the General Assembly, the General Assembly Secretary, that person works hand in hand with the General Council. And both of their jobs are to protect them. Now then you introduce in the Constitution the senior minister, who has nothing whatsoever to do with the General Assembly. The senior minister's job is to simply be available in the event that something happens to the CEO. But that person has nothing to do with the General Assembly. So now we have in the Constitution the senior minister who shall preside over the trial of the bishop shall designate a special prosecutor from among the General Council. Wait a minute. The senior minister is already a council member. The senior minister is also a high-ranking council member who's a judge on the council. The senior minister has now been appointed to 2 or 3 positions by the bishop. And now the 4th position is the General Assembly Secretary. And for those of you who understand, when you go to the General Assembly, when it's time to elect a General Assembly Secretary, the bishop will stop. Let me say this about the current secretary. I find no fault in them. I've been pleased with the work that they gave. I've been pleased with what they did so far. What does anything at all have to do with him being elected? You being pleased with the General Assembly Secretary is a problem, because the General Assembly Secretary does not work for the CEO. The General Assembly Secretary, remember, is supposed to be in position as a chairman of the board of directors. The General Assembly secretary, that person is to oversee the General Assembly. But they've used the General Assembly secretary to push things through the General Assembly that's going to benefit the bishop. And this is how we got these constitutions that the members of the organization did not approve of. This is 2022 Supreme Laws, which is now a part of the Constitution. This is the 2009 Constitution, changed unlawfully. This is 2022 Constitution, changed unlawfully. This is 2020. This is 2023. And we have a 2024 Constitution that was also changed unlawfully. Each time the Constitution has been changed so far, the members have had nothing to do with it. And what we're seeing here are laws that's being changed to put people in positions to protect the bishop, even if accusations are brought forward against him for violating the laws of the organization. Even if accusations are brought against him for breaking the rules of the organization. Even if charges are brought against him for becoming incompetent or not in keeping with the teachings and the doctrines of the New Testament. So these people in these positions wearing titles, some of them wearing 2 and 3 titles, being given to them again by bishops. Their job is to protect, no matter what, the bishop. So when the law says violations of the law or breaking the rules or incompetency or not in standing with the teachings and the doctrine of the New Testament or breaking the rules of the faith, any of those things, their job is to protect them. So let me finish this and then get back to that point before we're done. We close out. This says the senior minister shall preside over the trial, because that way you can throw it. You can lead the trial and make sure anything coming up as far as witnesses, testimony, you can direct it and have stuff thrown out. At the end, the conclusion is you get to judge it. The judge of the trial of the bishop is who? Is the one who's presiding over the trial. And if the senior minister is the one judging and sitting as the one presiding over the trial, and he works for the bishop, is that not a contradiction? Is that not a conflict of interest? You work for him. He appointed you. He gave you your power and authority. And so for you, Mr. Senior Minister, who's also a council member, who's also a judge appointed by the bishop, who's also the General Assembly secretary, who's pushing the recommended changes from your position as a member on the Constitutional Revision Committee, you're on all these things. You're the one that helped rig and fix the Constitution to put these layers of protection inside of it to protect the bishop. Is that not a conflict of interest for you to be over a trial where the people are trying to hold the bishop accountable for violating the laws of the organization? How can you rightfully, legally, legitimately, or lawfully sit in a position to rule and govern a trial that's holding him accountable by the people? When the supreme laws says that you work for him. Let me finish this. The senior minister who shall preside over the trial shall designate a special prosecutor from among the general council to litigate the charges preferred before the General Assembly. So the senior minister is going to pick somebody on the general council in order to argue the case for the trial of the bishop. Another layer of protection. The senior minister who's going to preside over this trial to protect him, they're going to pick somebody, not just an ordinary plain old member. They're going to pick somebody off the general council who also works for him to be the special prosecutor to litigate the charges to protect him and get him off the hook. That person is going to litigate the charges preferred before the General Assembly at the time the General Assembly notice is sent to the congregations. The bishop shall have an attorney who shall be a member of the church in good standing to advocate on his behalf. This is another problem. Because when people are being brought before the bishop with accusations, they don't have attorneys. Not one member in this organization has ever had an attorney when charges were being brought before them while the bishop is speaking to them. Now, people will say that's not true at all. You can't talk in a case against you unless you have an attorney. That's what the law says. No, that's not true. I've had cases where the bishop was issuing things against me. I didn't have an attorney. There's many cases where people have had all types of charges levied against them by the leaders, by the bishop. They didn't have attorneys. And I'm going to show you the difference. The difference here Article 4 of the Supreme Laws. Again, facts. Article 4 of the Supreme Laws. Section A. The judge must be respected in his position at all times. Anyone, Section B, who has been fined must pay his or her fine or go to jail and post a bond. Either you accept what the judge administers in your case, or you go to jail, or you get to appeal. If you're fined, you have to pay it. If don't, you're going to jail. Jail in here is the secretary's office, a custodian closet. It's whatever they make a jail. And they lock that door and you can't go nowhere. And they put a body on it until you post bond. That's what it says. Anyone who has been fined must pay his or her fine or go to jail and post a bond. You must post bond. This too is illegal. It's called unlawful detainment. Another law calls this false imprisonment. It's illegal. Even the practice of accepting monetary exchanges that you refer to as a bond, even that is illegal. You're not licensed to issue bail bonds. You're not licensed to collect bail, to allow people to go free that you're unlawfully detaining in the first place. I'm telling you, members, y'all have no idea how much is coming. All of the laws, it's in black and white. These things are things that's going to be looked at. There's no way around it. The facts are right here. And now these laws are part of the Constitution indirectly. Well, who did that? Not the members, the bishops, and the General Assembly Secretary, and the General Counsel, and the Constitutional Revision Committee. The judges on the council have allowed these things to happen. Why? Because every single one of them works for the bishop. And now the law is jam-packed with protection, 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 protection for him. But look at this one last thing. Let me go back to it. The last thing is this. The bishop shall have an attorney who shall be a member of the church in good standing to advocate on his behalf. Oh, that's not what I was looking at. This, the bail. Anyone who's been fined must pay his or her fine or go to jail and post a bond. He or she has the privilege of obtaining a lawyer to appeal the case to the Supreme Court. No appeal case will be presented to the Supreme Court without the defendant having a lawyer. That's the only time you have a lawyer in the courts of the UHOP. You don't have no lawyer. And all these people who stood before bishops right there in council, Supreme Court, never had a lawyer if they were not in an appeal case. And we've had many people come before the bishops where the charges being levied against them did not come from the general counsel. It didn't come from people. We've had many charges levied against people from the bishop himself. And they had no lawyer. They had nobody speaking for them. They had nobody there to defend them. And this law that says that the bishop shall have an attorney who shall be a member of the church in good standing. This is, if you're being brought forward for violating the laws, for being corrupt, for manipulating or deceiving or lying or not holding up to the New Testament, or for breaking the rules of the church, or for breaking the rules of the Constitution, first of all, the members didn't get that luxury. Why should you? The other law books don't say that he can have a lawyer. It's only in this new one that they fix and put 46, 49 changes in it without the people's consent. And it's jam-packed with all kinds of protection to protect the bishop, no matter how wrong he is, how many violations he commit. This Constitution allows the General Counsel, the General Assembly Secretary, the Supreme, the Senior Minister, the judges on the council, and the Constitution Revision Committee has packed it with protections and layers of protections that no matter what he do wrong, they're going to get him off the hook, and he's going to retain the powers of the bishop. He's going to go right back to his office, and he's going to retain that position. And the council's job, the senior minister's job, the General Assembly Secretary's job, every single one of them are there to make sure that it happens. Because every single one of them are working for him. And they're protecting him from who? The General Counsel, the General Assembly Secretary, the senior minister, the judges on the council, and the Constitution Revision Committee, all five of these people, every single one of them are working for the bishop and protecting the bishop from the members of the organization. They're protecting him from us, the people. The people. In order, let me prove it. I'm going to prove it. The bishop may be tried for violations, section 8D, upon charges in writing and signed by a minister and officers of the church or by 3 members of the church. A non-member cannot file charges against the bishop. Outside cannot file charges against the bishop. Nobody that's not a member can come in here and come to the General Assembly or send paperwork to the secretary of the General Assembly to issue charges or violations against the bishop. You have to be a minister who signed it, along with 2 members of the church or 3 members of the church. That's just to get it going, to get it started. So who are the general council members, the general council judges, the senior minister, the General Assembly secretary, and the assistant General Assembly secretary? Don't forget them. That's also always a council member. And the Constitution Revision Committee. Who are they protecting them from? They're protecting him from the members of the church inside the membership of the organization. The council, the General Assembly secretary, and the senior minister, their job is to protect the bishop from you all and me when we catch them doing wrong. Their job is to protect him from us whenever we catch them violating the laws of the house of prayer. Their job is to make sure that they stay put. Their job is to make sure that they stay in the seat. Their job is to make sure that they're there for the period of their natural life. Why? Because the bishop is scratching their backs, and their job is to scratch his. That's what this law says in this illegal, fraudulent constitution. And every single one of us, we're the ones on the hook, because every one of them aren't going nowhere. The bishop going to see to it that none of them go nowhere. And you can't even become a council member unless you are working for the bishop. This is why men don't rise in these positions in this organization. Because men who are not working for him, they're separated and put to the side. They will never become a chairman, because the chairmen are the ones who are the cheerleaders. Their job is to push the pastors, to push the people, to bring the money. All of them work hand in hand. That's why even chairmen are selected, and they are controlled, and they are maintained by the bishop, and the council is working for them. And it all operates smoothly because the General Assembly Secretary's job is not to take care of the people. It's not to see to it that the organization is run by the Constitution. If the Constitution was being conducted and operated and enforced by the General Assembly Secretary, if the council was making sure that the Constitution is being enforced, then why is it that the General Assembly Secretary or the council and Mr. Cunningham, who was the senior minister at the time, why is it that the senior minister did not get with the general counsel and bring these violations forward when we showed evidence that they're committing fraud? That's because the senior minister was the General Assembly secretary who pushed these things illegally through the General Assembly in order to make sure that this Constitution goes into full force and effect. That was the job of Mr. Cunningham, who also knew very well that he is not qualified, nor was he eligible to ever have his name admitted as a nominee, since his hands were already full of dirt from all the violations of the laws of the organization, along with previous leaders. People, these are facts. This is not made up. The books have all the facts in them, along with the signature of the guilty parties, if we're going to look at this information and see it for what it is. The only way that what I'm saying cannot be true, the only way that what I'm saying cannot be true, the only way that what I'm saying cannot be true is if I printed up these books, is if I made them up. But the fact that these books were printed and it says they were signed by Mr. Bailey, they're signed by Mr. Cunningham. They signed it to verify and confirm all the information in here is true and accurate, which they both knew was a lie. And here we are. So when people do what they do in here, there's no wonder why Miss Madison has been heard time and time again at Portal Drive and other places saying things like, you can tell the House of Prayer members anything. They're so stupid, they'll do it. They'll believe it. People have heard her say time and time again, countless people, how conversations are held, talking about how dumb the members are, that you can get them to do anything. And people have reminded me of some of those conversations, because while all this information is coming out, over 400 and some, listen, all of this information and what we're seeing is people still giving all this money and yelling and screaming while seeing falsified documents, while seeing their signatures on government paperwork that's been filed with information that's not true at all. At all. And people are saying, why are they still doing what they do? Why are they still doing this, that, and the other? Oh, others saying, I have the answer. It's because they don't know. That's the only way to explain it. Because there's been people that's been told, we got recordings where the leaders have told them to stay off of YouTube. Don't watch no videos. You don't need to listen to nobody who's talking against what it is that we're saying. Anybody who's saying anything that go against anything in here, y'all need to ignore it. And it makes sense. So the ones who's doing that because they're being faithful may not know about this information. So they keep doing this, they keep doing that, money keep going. But we keep hearing also that the congregations are dwindling. Participation is failing. Now, we're not trying to tell people to stop anything. We're not trying to get people to leave anything. We're not trying to tell people what to do. I'm just making you aware that this is going on, and too many times questions have gone unanswered. unanswered. So the paperwork makes it look like all these individuals are doing all kinds of things right up underneath of our nose, and there's nothing being done about it. But one thing's for sure, these constitutions are put here to protect individuals that's violating the rules and the laws of the organization. It's been put there for the individuals in positions to come forward to protect people who's in other positions. Now, I'm not saying that they've done it. I'm saying that the law reflects, these illegal laws reflect that now we have people in positions waiting to come forward, even if there's a trial, to make sure that we get them off the hook. That's their job. So the problem here is the people that's in positions, it looks like, don't need to be in these positions. Because the only way we're going to get to the bottom of anything and fix anything that might need to be fixed is to get people who's going to stand up for what's right, who's going to stand on the law, who's going to not be hidden and doing things behind closed doors and in secret, but who's going to be 100% transparent and open with the people and allow the people to understand how the law works. The people were never supposed to be subject to a body of people who's doing all these things while taking powers away from the people. Never was there ever supposed to be a General Assembly secretary who's got the authority to act of their own will and recognizance without the people knowing anything. A chairman of a board works hand in hand with the board. The chairman of the board don't work behind the board's back along with a CEO. When chairmen of a board work behind the board's back along with the CEO, that's when people end up going to jail. Because both positions, CEO and the board of chairman of the board, they have fiduciary duties. And a failure to keep fiduciary duties puts people in position to where they get sentenced for jail time. This is the law. So in all these things, what I'm saying, members, you have to read the laws. You have to study the laws. You have to learn what's in the laws. If you don't understand it, then I tell you what, get the law books and take one section at a time. For those of you who don't understand, we've been studying this stuff for years. And now there's this technology today we didn't have back then. We had to study it. We had to memorize it. Y'all are now living in a day where you can take these law books and one article at a time. You can take one article and you can read into the microphone and take these AI programs and apps, read it into the microphone and ask the app, ask it to explain to me what this is saying, and go through one article at a time. Or you can read the whole thing and have the app explain to you the entire law. And then you can compare it to the laws of the land to show you which ones are illegal, which ones are problematic, what should be, what should not be. And this is why I'm saying that we are waiting on the outside regulating agencies, because there's way too many questions going unanswered for years and years and years. And no one coming forward and answering a question. And it's just so bad right now. Even if you ask a question, all of a sudden things are happening, and now it's like you're ostracized. So for those of you who saw the documents last week and who was asking questions, I wanted to come to show you how the General Assembly Secretary is working along with the council, and both of them working along with the Constitution Revision Committee in order to protect the bishops. And it should be easy for us to see now, because the same one who worked on the Constitution Revision Committee back then, 2022, Mr. Jones, he was the pastor of Hickory, Virginia. But after he worked on the Constitution Revision Committee, he was awarded and he was made the chairman of New York. That's a promotion. Well, who was the one that decided that? The bishop. The same one where he was on the committee to revise the Constitution, along with Miss Mickey Bailey, Mr. Cunningham, and Judge Cuthbert. Those four individuals revised the entire Constitution. They changed it. And Mr. Bailey approved it being printed before the day of the General Assembly even arrived. And that's why this book was in boxes waiting to be sold to the members inside that meeting. But Mr. Cunningham had to make sure that the people voted in favor of those recommendations, because Mr. Cunningham knew they were already printed up in this book unlawfully and illegally. Which is another reason for all of you members who was in the General Assembly, they did not discuss one at a time any of the recommendations. You don't ever vote on a list of changes to the Constitution. You vote on one proposal at a time. And what we just counted was 46 changes. Do you know how long it would take for 400 and some people to have conversation about 44 proposals? But the intent is to hurry up and get the people in, go through, do what we got to do, hurry up and get the people out. So y'all got an hour and a half, and y'all went through all these proposals and y'all voted on it. And now we got a brand new constitution. All because the CEO is on a time limit, the most important meeting of the organization, to discuss and talk about the Constitution. Members, non-members, friends, people around the world, when you see these types of things going on in your organization or on your job or in your institution or whatever it is that you're affiliated with, you need to be asking questions. And that is why we're here. But that said, let me go back through the comments before we close. We did crash, and I came back so that we could reset everything. B. Mevderman says the devil don't want the truth told, and she's saying that the reason why we crashed because he got involved with all this information coming out. Thank you. I wholeheartedly agree. Kenneth McMillan says didn't know what happened. Thought it was on my end. Golden Boy, got fiber in my digital diet, so I knew I was okay. Janice, they're protecting the bishop from the church. Right. All these positions, they're layering the Constitution with protections to protect him. It's the same thing with the Sunday school book. Anybody got the Sunday school book for this year, 2026? That thing is thicker than any Sunday school book in the history of the House of Prayer. Why? because there's people who are writing books, there's people making videos to expose the things that's been going on for so long. This year's Sunday school book is a defensive playbook to try to get the members to turn their head and their attention away from the things that's being said, to direct your attention towards things that you didn't know anything about. This is not this one versus this one. This is about awareness. This is about promoting truths. This is to get the members to understand the need to read, to study, to make yourselves aware of the law of both the organization and the laws of the land, so that you can no longer be duped and hoodwinked. The individuals that don't know the law are the people who get taken advantage of most. Kenneth said, no, Golden Boy, holding all those positions, right? Kenneth said, yes. Baby Blue, yes, I did. I forgot what article it was, right? Golden Boy says, adding cushion and more options to exonerate the bishop. Yeah, all through the Constitution, all kinds of stuff was being done. Well, if this gets through, then we can block it this way. If this gets through, then we can toss it out this way. If this gets through, then we can say this about these people. You got all these people in different positions that's plotting and planning and doing everything that they possibly can to protect the wicked. How are people doing anything with your soul salvation in mind when they're protecting the wicked? When it comes to welcome to the fellowship, we're glad you're here. Please hit and support channel. Thank you again. The lives of him and her. Golden Boy, you need to recuse yourself, minister. Thank you. That was a point that I was making. Let me say this. Everything said in this fellowship and the last one are opinions based on what I perceive. Let me also add that I'm not the one to determine whether or not they're facts. Let me also add that we have individuals looking into these situations. It's for them to determine, based on this information that I'm giving, whether or not these things show violations of law. So, with that in mind, understand my opinions are these. Also understand that this is why I am telling you all that you need to research and read to make yourselves familiar with our laws as well as the laws of the land. But this is lastly also why I'm saying we have questions that need to be answered. So thank you again. I appreciate that, Golden Boy. Nothing but questions that need to be answered. Ms. Mintz, yes, he really should. This is ridiculous. Yeah. We have in the law where it says that the senior minister and the General Assembly Secretary and the council protects the bishop. We also have individuals that are of the opinion that certain people in certain positions need to step down. Certain people in different positions need to just listen. I wash my hands, forgive me, and just because the facts are showing way too much, and paperwork that looks like it's legitimate are also showing way too much for people to ignore. So when people talk about recusal, this is also for those persons that are in positions who know that perhaps they've had a hand in something that might not have been completely stellar. If you know that you've been doing something fraudulent or you should not have done it, you bent the rules, then it would behoove you to come forward, or even if not, do what it is that was said last year. Just get your hat and coat and quietly walk away. Even if you don't want to come forward, do it quietly, walk away. Which is interesting because many of the things that was said last year, it didn't happen on our end, it's happening on the other end. How many of y'all remember? Y'all don't have to worry about that stuff out there. That stuff will be over soon. People are going to be all turned against one another, at each other's throat. And it's going to just fall apart and it's going to go away. Well, none of that stuff came to pass. None of it came to pass. But many of the things that were said about what's going to happen here has actually happened on the other end, the opposite end. It seems that more and more and more and more people all over the place are at a point where they want answers, because this is not making any sense. And for us to keep on turning a blind eye away from all of this, while people going around to collect bags, and the only thing that's being asked of people is just to give money, a whole service that has nothing to do with praising him, worshiping him, or giving any sacrifices to him, nothing whatsoever. Somebody needs to answer these questions. Instead, it looks like, well, we're just going to keep going around and we're going to ignore, and we're going to let the people, just keep on. Let's keep going forward. Keep going forward. We're not going to talk about it. We're not going to even act like we even know anything about it. We're going to pull stunts. Baltimore, slow dancing up there with whoever, with a romance song being sung, right? Going to use different individuals instead of using the normal one who's going to cheer the people up, get the people up, get the people up. Let's use people that the people don't normally see. Let's use other people. Ministers that we normally have tucked in the back. Other ones that the people don't normally see in the front. Let's get them. It's because we don't want the people to be reminded of what they saw online. Nothing about the Bible, nothing about the scripture, nothing about soul salvation, nothing at all. A letter was written to the Romans, and a question was asked. To those of you teaching against XYZ, do you do XYZ? And I'm not going to go there because I'm trying to close out. The message keep being trust God, trust God, trust God, trust God, trust God. But you're telling people to put their trust in him while people are being expected to not look at truths and facts. While at the same time, books are being printed with the title Truths and Facts, but it's full of lies and more lies. What's being sold as truth is being proven to be nothing but lies. And when we see this going on, somebody needs to be saying something so that people can see and understand what's going on. So I've been saying over and over again, anytime a meeting can be set up, all I got to do is let us know in front of people. And these things need to be addressed. Members, let me reiterate. There's so much going on, a lot going on, even when it comes to the masks. Y'all need to understand the wearing of these masks, that's nothing but a control mechanism. All it is a control mechanism. People not wearing masks everywhere you go, all over the place. Ain't nowhere. Shopping, school, libraries, plazas, mall, neighborhoods, children getting on school buses. Some of y'all get on public buses. Ain't nobody, y'all ain't seeing no masks. But when you go out there, you have to have a mask. It's nothing but a form of control. That's all it is. That's all it is. And as long as people give an impression, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, whatever, no matter what you say, no problem, stuff continues. What I'm saying is you need to do what's best for you. You need to take care of home. Again, I'm not telling nobody not to follow. I'm not telling nobody what to do, what not to do. But with knowledge, we can now make educated decisions. And now that we're seeing documents and legal paperwork and your signature being written here as members or presidents, and listen, I made an educated decision to put my everything on pause. And we need to sit back and see what you're going to do to answer my questions and get to the bottom of these things that I see. And I can see what's going on here. But as Matthew 7:1 says, I'm not the judge. Therefore, let's see what they're going to say. Since the judges inside are doing absolutely nothing except protecting certain people. And they're not protecting the law abiding. They're not protecting the stand up. They're not protecting the stand for right. It seems that for years and years and years, these people have been protecting those who are doing the most. And the things that go against the law, things that go against the rules, things that go against the Constitution, things that even go against the word itself. So we need to just stand still, keep monitoring, keep observing, even if it's from a distance, because these things, it looks like, will be getting addressed. Bimevdaman, that's true. They threatened to lock my mother up at the time when she was secretary under Green at the time. And she's talking about a law that we have in the Supreme Laws that people can be taken and locked in a room and can't go nowhere until they come up with money. I'm telling y'all people, y'all don't understand. Things are going to be happening that y'all have no clue about because you're not taking the time to understand the literature that's in here. And then to try to understand by comparing this literature to the law of the land to see whether or not it's okay to do that. We have people up around the top that don't even understand the law of the land says a lot of things that contradict a lot of things in here. So stand by, because questions will be getting answered sometime soon. Miss Mintz, that bishop's seat is going to catch fire. It's looking like it's pretty bad. It's looking like it's pretty bad. Golden Boy says, so it has to be an attorney that has sworn lifelong devotion to the man. Well, that's why they put it in there. We're going to get somebody off the council whose job it is to protect him, and they're going to litigate in this case. Because either way, some way, somehow, don't worry, we got you. We got you. We got you. We got you. That's what's going on. And it's being done right in front of your faces. But they know that the people not reading the books. They know that the people not understanding what's in these books. They know that you don't know, which is why they laugh behind closed doors and call the members of the House of Prayer all kinds of names. Stupid, idiots, dumb, do anything you want. They say all kinds of stuff. And each time they come out, it looks like the stuff that they're saying you, me, anybody and everybody else. Golden Boy says, protect them from the members and protect it from the law. Well, only from the members, because when the law comes, in the event that the law comes, the council can't protect him because they're going to be in question as well. The General Assembly Secretary will also be in question, along with the Constitutional Revision Committee. They will be in question. And all these things being done that the law of the land says ought not be done, well, anybody who had a hand in it, they're going to be questioned, which is why I said, Mickey Bailey, you to sign her name, put Esquire beside it. Okay. We have all these people will be surprised at what may be coming forward relatively soon, even more so than what we already have been. Ms. Mintz, those fines are a scam too. Yes, absolutely. When you don't have any laws that the people agreed to, you can fine us this, that, and the other. When you have people being fined $1,000, $2,000, $10,000, whatever they decide to make up, and then you got a law here saying that I get to get locked up until I make arrangements to pay it. This is violation on top of violation on top of violation. That's what it looks like. But people whose job it is to determine these things, we're waiting to hear what they're going to say. Golden Boy, no outsiders, my precious. Right? Outsiders can't come in and charge anything against bishops. The law does not permit it, which is why a lawyer and a judge and a parliamentarian is not supposed to be inside the General Assembly. And if you notice, they only do it when there's an election, in order to sell the idea that everything that happened today was legitimate, legal, lawful, and official. See, we had judges, we had lawyers, we had a parliamentarian. It is to sell the idea. While they go back and laugh at everybody in here. None of them had the authority to be standing inside that General Assembly. If they're keeping the people out, the members, and you got men at the door, that every single one of those doors got councilmen on them who are also working for the bishop. If you're not faithful to him, and their job is to keep anybody outside that door whose name is not on that list that's also been pre-approved by the General Assembly Secretary. They all work hand in hand. This is like you're working for your employer, Baby Blue says, and you file a lawsuit against your employer, you will be terminated. The regulating agencies should see right through this charade. Absolutely. But they have to wait for the wait period to go by. Once they notify, they have to give 3 to 4 weeks. And if they don't respond, they have to give another 3 to 4 weeks. So we're simply waiting so that when that time goes by, the regulating agency will then go ahead and make their determination. They will make their announcement. And then if they decide that we're going to investigate, that's when everything happens. And it's going to happen fast if they make that decision. We don't have a whole lot more time if they've already sent those notifications out for them to make a determination. And a lot of people are saying, well, it sounds like that might be why people are staying outside of DC. Keep in mind, he's not sitting in Washington. He's all over the place, all over the place. We know in DC he's there this weekend, but he knows everybody knows he's there this weekend because he made an announcement. But even though he's there this weekend, he was there tonight. But earlier, he was in Hickory, Virginia. Well, if you're going to be in service in Washington, D.C., Saturday night, why are you in Hickory, Virginia? And he was in Hickory for a funeral service. But the funeral service for Lenny Jackson, he wasn't there, and that was in D.C. But you're going to a funeral service in Hickory, Virginia? Instead of Lenny Jackson's, you went to a choir's anniversary in Charlotte because his was in D.C. So people are saying it looks like you're doing everything you can to stay outside of Washington. Even went all the way down to Miami, Florida 2 weeks ago. And yet you're getting ready to go down to Miami. And then turned around, came back up, went to Greer during the daytime, popped in, Columbia, South Carolina, a few minutes on Thursday night, stopped by to say hi. None of this is making sense. Came up through Charlotte, went there for the anniversary Saturday, popped up in Greensboro Sunday, and then up to Boston, Massachusetts. None of this is making. You are all over the place, only to come back to DC this weekend. I missed you all. Haven't seen you in a while. But you the one going. Every other time after LA, bishops are there in DC. They're sitting back, what they say, resting. From what, though? Because work is not getting done. It's not like anything is being done. Nobody's getting phone calls. Nobody's getting letters answered. Anyway, let me hurry up and get through the last of these. These are a lot of conversations people are making, and I'm trying to address a lot of it at the same time while responding to people who have sent, again, emails, text messages, or left phone messages. But you're right. It's like the regulating agencies should see right through this. The lies of him and her, so Baby Blue, 100%, absolutely. B. Mevderman, side right on schedule. Yeah, it's a shame, but it is what it is. Miss Mintz, if a bishop is acting in good faith, integrity, and is using the church funds and investing as any prudent person would, then why must he be protected by the people? I wasn't going to say it. I was waiting for somebody else to say it. If you're doing everything the right way, then why are you layering and layering and layering and layering and layering and layering the laws with protections? We don't even see that in the law of the land. You have all these protections, and even those things, again, were not put there by the people. You forced it in by tricking the people. So again, these things are going to be pretty questionable as we go forward. Grateful for it all. Still giving money. What a shame. Yeah. For those who don't know, those who don't understand, those who are not paying attention, those who are ignoring because they still believe, okay, if you are going to do all those things, take care of your home first, take care of your family first. That's all I'm saying. We do know that individuals have backed out of certain trips. And we do know that parents have listened and have taken their children off of many of these different auxiliaries in these clubs because of things that they may be held accountable for coming up. And I've said before, y'all don't have to believe it. You don't have to believe it. But I would like to think that there's been enough information to show you all on this channel that when something is said, we can come back and back it up. Miss Mintz, be careful on the road, Miss Kareem. Oh, yeah, she's driving. Absolutely. Be careful out there. And Ms. Mint says, way too much lying going on. Golden Boy, please drive safe. At least use voice text, 2 hands and phone mount. You better stay on YouTube, get all the understanding you can get. Ms. Mint says, for everybody, get all the understanding you can get off of these videos. Members, you want answers? Close your wallets. You'll get some answers. Yeah, if you don't do anything, that's when people start talking. As long as you're still doing everything, nobody going to talk. What do we need to talk for? We still getting what we want. The cow's still giving milk. Let that cow dry up. Let powder spurt out. I guarantee you somebody going to be getting some answers. If that cow don't give you nothing but some powder, and that's not powdered milk, I guarantee you somebody going to be getting some answers. Golden Boy, constitutions. And he was waist deep. So it made sense. It made sense for him to feel the need to make himself the bishop. Again, the information is what it is. And it's out here. We see it. I've told you conversations that I've had with him one-on-one. What I put into his ear, I said it loud enough for the members to hear it right there. The first 5 pews, they heard the conversation. We now have anybody that was there in the 2022 and 2023 General Assembly. If you still have your minutes, email them to us. Nobody's going to know. 2022, 2023 General Assembly. If you have the General Assembly from October, if you have those minutes, your notes, email them to us. Nobody's going to know. From May 2023-22, email them to us. Nobody's going to know. Okay? What that's going to show is the people that were there witnessing everything, they wrote their own notes down. And your notes, your minutes become testimony of record of everything that happened that day. Now we have minutes, and we have individuals that have already afforded us their minutes. But if you know that you haven't done that, because everybody take different notes, then send them into the email. That way the members of the organization will know for certain that all these things are 100% true and accurate, because they've heard from people all over the country. So yes, because you were in the position as a council member, you're in the position as the head judge, you're in the position as the senior minister, you're in the position as the General Assembly secretary, and you were on the Constitution Revision Committee. All those things gave you everything you needed to just issue orders. And your orders had to be carried out. And if you remember, there was councilmen that was all over the place giving speeches about this one person long before any election. Okay. Miss Mintz says, don't understand the laws. If you don't understand the laws, use Copilot. No excuse. Heck, Siri may help too. LOL. Golden Boy says, yeah. Baby Blue says, Brother Lewis, what is the article that uses the language according to the Apostle Paul? Can you say or tell what did Apostle Paul say that they're using that scripture? Well, the problem is, Baby Blue, that there is no language that Paul said using that. They're trying to say that Paul said he's only to be judged by God. But Paul never said that. Paul himself was judged by several men. Now let's take this one more step further. Even the Messiah was judged by man. He was judged by the Sanhedrin court. He was judged by the chief priests and the high priest. He was judged by Herod, but not officially. He just sent them back after mocking them. But then he was judged by Pilate. But Pilate put the judgment on the people while he washed his hands. So then Pilate allowed the people of Israel to judge him. So even the Messiah was judged by the common man. So if the Messiah was judged by men, then who are these men saying that nobody can judge them? When we see all these government documents that they've been getting penalties and fees and warnings and notifications, and they're paying fines, they're paying things to reinstate things. These men know for a fact that that's a lie when they say nobody can judge them, which is why there is not one verse quoted in that law. They don't quote the scripture in the Constitution that says where Paul said that, because he never said it. He never said it. What he did, what they're trying to use, let me pull this up. And let me show you. I'm going to put this here so that you all can see this. Okay. Shoot, where are you at? Right here. 1 Corinthians 2:15. Let me turn this down. Anyway, 1 Corinthians 2:15. But he that is spiritual judgeth all things, yet he himself is judged of no man. So they're taking this scripture and trying to say that he's spiritual. And because he's spiritual, no man can judge him. But this is not what Paul was saying, which is why I've said Paul was judged by many people. Many people judged him. So we can't use that scripture and apply it in this scenario. So there is no such thing as men not being able to be judged by anybody, but the Creator. Thank you for that question, by the way. Kenneth says, all these people talking about they're being saved under this person and that one, nobody's saved until judgment. Until you've been saved from eternal damnation, you're not saved yet. This is what Paul meant when he said, he who calleth upon the name of the Lord, the same shall be saved. He was saying saved in the end. He's not saying saved in this right here, this lifetime, because anybody while you're living can also turn back and go back to the lifestyle that you were leading before you were converted. That's why we talk about conversion. A person who is converted, they're simply converted. And you can walk and walk and walk after being converted, but it's up to you to remain converted and walk in your conversion and not turn back. Anybody can still turn back. Baby Blue, those that are traveling to Miami, driving by car, plane, or train, or the U-Haul buses, I hope they can afford the gas prices. UHOP buses, right? The gas prices is an issue right now. There's a lot of people already that, so you know, since you brought it up, that have canceled the Miami trip. There's a lot of people that did not go out over the past few services. And there's people that have called that have stopped everything because they don't like what they're hearing. And the bigger thing is that nothing is being said about these things. Nothing is being said. So the hope is that you ignore it or just pay attention to what we're doing here so that we can distract you away from that. Brother Perry, did you get the second set of pics that I sent? Oh, thank you. I see what I responded to you. For whatever reason, it didn't go out to you. I thought I had sent it, my response. I said, let me see something, but I'm gonna go ahead and share. Let me know, do you want me to share this? I believe you do, which is probably why you brought it up, but let me know, text me if you want me to share this. Okay, and I'm gonna come back to that in a moment. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Sabrina, you're awesome. That's your heart. God's got this. Yes, our Father's got it. Absolutely. Thank you. Grateful for it all. There are red flags all over the place. It's completely ridiculous. And yes, 100%. Lady Tiffany, print shop in the back. Print shop in the back. Yeah, it looks like a whole lot of stuff is being done in the back, again, that people don't know anything about. Sabrina, Grace's son is still living. He's an identical updated Grace. Yeah, unfortunately, not unfortunately, there's several children that we have been in touch with. Several sons, several daughters. Some of them are waiting to come forward. So it's going to be very, very surprising to a lot of people. Um, the information and the individuals that we have that's waiting, and who the records show and reveal is their biological father. And I'm going to say it this way and then move on. There's people all around the organization, all around the country, rather, all around the country. Some are members, some are not, that you're going to be surprised to see that who their biological fathers are. Okay. Some people you're going to be surprised to see who their biological mother is. Okay. So without going any further, I'm telling you all, there's a lot of people that's been working with us. We have a lot of documentation. So we're just sitting still. Golden Boy got a lot of them apparently. Would be great to see them, see though. And again, it's not just him, but anyway, and it's not just them. It's not just him and it's not just them. Okay, there's a lot all over the place that people don't know about. Golden Boy says, I heard a story about someone taking a I don't know how to read that one, Golden Boy. I heard a story about someone taking anyway, let me go to the next the next comment. Kenneth McMillan says, the sad thing is, if and when he's taken off, what is said is the mountain, they may say, well, they locked up the Son of Man. They will say he is falsely being persecuted. No, I understand what you're saying. But when people see information, and when they get results, then they know from there. Keep in mind in the scripture, they didn't have any evidence against the Son of Man. They only had false accusation. This is not false accusation. This is not made up. All of these things are they're documents that they wrote. There's documents with their signatures. There's documents that's been filed with the government. They're easily found. They're easily retrieved. There's things that the documents lead to. There's people and there's companies and all kinds of stuff, again, that y'all don't know about yet. I'm just making you aware that there's things that you don't know. But this is enough to open up your understanding that there is stuff going on that you don't know nothing about that should make you ask questions after becoming aware. What in the world is this? This is the point that I'm making. Golden Boy was blatant temperature check. Teach and testify says, Jesus said, you have made it a den of thieves. Yes. And he never changed that. So it's still a house of thieves. It would be if the temple wasn't destroyed. Then the temple would still be a den of thieves if they were doing these things in the temple. But since the temple was destroyed, there's places that are referring to themselves as his house, right? The house of. But those individuals have also built and made themselves and those places a den of thieves. If you're taking from people, then you're using it for things that's other than what the scripture teaches or talks about, then that's exactly what you've done. You've transferred that place into a den of thieves. Miss Mintz, I believe Malcolm X said this, you want to hide something from someone, put it in a book. Absolutely. A lot of our people won't read, and people take advantage of that if they know that people won't read. B. Mevdabin, Sabrina, I didn't know Grace's son was still living. Someone said he passed. Again, there's several people still here, still living, and it's easy to show and prove that they are biological descendants and children of da 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 da. And then some of them, the children had children, and we know that there's grandchildren of certain individuals, and paperwork shows blah 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 blah. So just know that there's people that can be verified and legitimately show documentation to prove who they are and whose they are. Okay. Thank you. The Lives of Him and Her email address, we stand for right 2024@gmail.com. Thank you again. Giovanni's is Romans 3 and 7. Romans 3 and 7. Let me see where Giovanni would like us to go. For if the truth of our Heavenly Father hath more abounded through my lie unto his glory, why yet am I also judged as a sinner? And what this is saying is Paul is indicating that he's being judged by man. In other words, he's showing, according to the scripture that they referred, that he never said that he's only judged by the Almighty, right? And thank you for that. And there's several places that we could go to dispute that. But thank you again for that, because it shows directly that absolutely he was judged by man, right? Jamal says, yeah, I saw a picture of Grace's son a few years ago on social media. They look alike. Golden Boy's laughing. And a lot of the descendants look like these men. Again, we have pictures of others as well, of descendants of other men too. Golden Boy says, someone may have yeah. We have people doing some crazy things, and some of those crazy things are for a reason. When we have crazy things like that, instead of people going to a laboratory, they're doing things around the facility. Those things are tied to certain spiritual things that has nothing to do with him. Okay, and we have quite a bit of stuff going on that's got nothing to do with him, where people are utilizing spirits as well in here. So yes, and that's not uncommon. I'll say that. Kenny says, yes, I understand. I was saying the people that doesn't want to let it go, they will try to defend even. Oh yeah, some people will. Absolutely. Okay. So let me show you all this. Let me turn this up so you can see. Let me let you see what this is. This is one of the parsonages. And you see some work trucks there. Okay. And this is showing more. And this is the company. Current Edge Solutions at 912-357-5800. the cabling and the gate. It's a lot of extensive work. Here's a generator at the back. Let me blow it up. A huge, gigantic generator from the company called Winco. I haven't gone in to some research yet. Other people are looking into some things, but this is parsonage in Colombia. Okay. And it shows all this work being done. And let me go to the other one. Here, you see this large, I'll let you see in a moment, crane right beside the telephone pole. Cranes like that is for hoisting extremely heavy equipment or objects, extremely heavy. This one has the extensions, the steel extensions that come out from under the bed and it plants these plates, plant on all sides because of how heavy whatever it is going to be hoisted. And they came way out and to stabilize the vehicle. And this in mind, so it looked like the second to last picture, the name Winco on the side of the large unit, seemed to be at least 6 feet tall and even way wider. Winco is a generator company, not the grocery store. It is a generator company. This is one of the biggest generators I know I've seen. And online, it was valued or priced at, if it's the correct one, $24,000. Question is, why would a parsonage need a generator of that size? Just a question. Now, mind you, these questions are valid because, once again, the members are in the complete dark. Why is it that we don't know anything about these things? And why are we not in the decision-making process? And why are we not making decisions about a budget that's going to be used for anything that's going to be utilized by the leaders? Who approved of the money that would be needed not only to purchase the equipment, but what about the money that would be needed to pay for the labor to install this equipment, right? And this has been done around the time that he was in the area. Looks like stuff is being done still that nobody knows anything about. And why would you be doing anything anyway with the parsonages? Again, there's a lot more questions that come to my mind. But the people are in a position where there's a need to know, but there's no one offering any information. So I want to thank you very much for sharing these things, and for reminding me of these things. Kenny says, understand, is it in Georgia? No. Kenny says, last time I seen a generator that big, I was doing bodyguarding for a certain celebrity. An artist brought it to push big speakers. Mega power. It really says a lot because the generator is to supply power. It's a power source. And why do we have something that big going inside one of the parsonages when no one is going to be living in the parsonage? It's going to be empty year round for the most part. Again, we have a lot of questions. So many members are alarmed to see some of these things, and many members are asking one another about these things. So it's going to be interesting, like I said, to find out what's going on. And it's going to be eye-opening as well as refreshing to get answers to these questions that people have been asking for years, as well as to questions that we never knew to ask. So all that said, once again, I thank you, sir. I thank all of you who have asked and sent things to us by text, by email, by phone, by commenting. I plead the fifth, said, gotta hide the money somewhere. Well, if we get started on that, just know that, again, all this coming in, this money coming in, it can't be getting deposited because you'd have to have a reason for depositing such large sums of money. So it's just, there's so many things that look like should not be going on, and we need to get a handle on all of these things. So again, there's no explanations. There's no one at all being afforded to the members. So absolutely be Mevdaman. Lucy, you got this some planning to do and a lot more other things, right? A lot of other things. So we want to stay on top of what we're doing. Whatever it is, do not cause any animosity. Don't cause any problems. If anything happens, see something, say something, bring to our attention, whatever the case may be, so that we can bring it to the attention of whoever we need to bring it to the attention of. With all that said, we want to thank you for your time. It did not mean to go this far, but here we are. And we want to see you on next time if you can make it. With all that said, thank you, each and every one of you. And we want to bid you a very, very blessed evening, and hope that you have a great night, and hope that you have a beautiful week coming in ahead. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.